Hi, it's Tova Felcher, and you're listening to The Dave and Creech Show.
This is the Dave and Creech Show, the only podcast where podcaster CJ Creech and actor Dave Sheridan come together to talk all things entertainment with your favorite entertainers. Want to ask our guests a question? Tweet them to @DaveSheridan or @CJCNOV88, and they may be asked to our guests live on the show. We do have to ask you stay seated during the podcast because this ride may get a little bit hilarious. Now here's your hosts, Dave and Creech.
Hey everybody out there, welcome to episode 46 and actually the first episode of 2017 of the Dave and Creech Show. I am Creech.
Happy New Year.
Yeah, right? Happy New Year to all of our listeners, and we are kicking it off in style with Adolfo Dorta of Day of the Dead. And just talking some news that happened since 2016 ended and 2017 began. And as usual, obviously Creech is here, and we have Dave Sheridan, our other co-host. And
hello.
It's good to be back in the new year.
Welcome back.
Right, we are nearing the 52 episode mark. Granted, January 8th was actually our first year since our first podcast. However, 52 episodes will be, 6 episodes from now? And that will be our official year amount of episodes. Since there was a couple of weeks last year where we did miss a couple of weeks and due to everything. But, hey, better late than never. And we're going to finish it up in 2017 with our 52 podcast episodes.
Then we'll be able to fill a CD collection of our greatest hits.
Exactly, and then we can have our kind of what we talked about. I believe it was the last episode where we're stuck in a car and we're remembering all of our favorite moments.
Yeah, trapped in a well.
Favorite 52 moments of Dave and Creech, which would probably be like a 30-hour long podcast.
We fell asleep in a car and we drove into a well. So we're trapped in a car and we're trapped in a well.
And then it's snowing.
And they think we're pranking.
But yes, with new year, it's a new, another year of the podcast. We spoke a lot last year on deaths, and actually there was another death that actually wasn't revealed until a couple of days ago. It wasn't even a person, but it was something else that has sadly died. And I actually kind of mourn this decision, but you've actually talked about this.
Wait, don't tell me. No, don't say it. Ford Taurus?
Ford Taurus? No.
Oh, okay, that's probably dead too. Go ahead.
Yes. No, we actually, and I believe this was actually the very first episode we ever had a year ago. You mentioned this was coming. So we've got Nostradamus Dave Sheridan. And basically they're calling 2016 the death of DVD. As this is, 2016 was the first year that digital downloads eclipsed DVD purchases.
Oh, gee.
So,
oh, well, yeah, there you go. I noticed that, I'll tell you this year, you get these screeners. You get screeners and stuff, but for like award season, you get all the movies, and like Netflix just sent me a huge box set of all their shows, for your consideration. But I have Netflix. And I'm like, I got Netflix. I really don't want a DVD of Strange Things or Stranger Things or whatever, or Orange is the New Black. I don't need season 4 of Orange is the New Black. I have Netflix and it's already there. I can watch it whenever I want. So why do I want this, soda can coaster now? It's a waste of money. I'm kind of I'm not going to nominate any of their crap just because they wasted material, paper, the paper's nailed in, all the paper, all the plastic, the pollution that was caused to make that plastic. So to me, I welcome the day of full streaming, no more sending me, it's kind of like losing the Christmas gift, but understanding that the Christmas gift is bad all there's nothing really to gain by the Christmas gift if I can get it with all those other perks of, hey, this didn't cost pollution to ship it to you, killing a tree, spoiling water with all the, factory runoff and stuff to make the plastic and stuff like that. So, but there was definitely a big decline in the DVDs that I received versus receiving emails that said, here is the link to watch said movie. You know what I mean? If you want to watch it streaming. And the funny thing is, I like getting the DVDs, but I don't even have a DVD player, so therefore I realized, I have 2 laptops to go. 2 laptops. It still works. I don't use the laptop, but 2 laptops ago, I have a DVD player or a CD/DVD burner, a super drive, whatever they want to call it. So the only way I can watch these movies anyway is open up my old, go in the closet and dig out that 2 laptops ago. So it's underneath another laptop already that, I've replaced. So it is sort of when I get those things, I'm like, it actually is more work for me to, go and watch that movie. So the streaming has actually worked out to be better for me. I watch it on my new laptop, and I just hit the link and put in the passcode, and I'm off to the races.
Right, and I'm going back to the Netflix thing. Wouldn't it just be easier for Netflix to just send you and the other voters, an actual account?
They did that. Yeah, they did that as well.
Oh, okay.
They did both. They said, here's the box set, and here's 2 months. During voting season, you can use this login to watch Netflix for, a 2-month period. But again, I already have Netflix, and they know, it's almost 100% of the people that are voting on this stuff, because they're in the industry. They know that they, at least 90% have some form of Netflix, because it's not all that much money, and it's a very popular forum, so it's not like Amazon Prime. That would have been nice for Amazon Prime to do, because I don't really get to watch any of the Amazon stuff, or Hulu, because I don't have that. I'm not going to, if I have Netflix, I'm not one of those people. I do know, I have friends, I don't know if you're one of them, who have everything. They've got, I've got Netflix, and I pay for an Amazon Prime, and I pay for Hulu Plus or whatever. It's just sort of it's kind of overkill, because isn't there so much of it that just overlaps?
There's actually not. There used to be, but now it's a lot different. I do have Netflix and Hulu, and Hulu's doing their own original stuff too. But they get movies, and their television shows, you get them a lot quicker than you do with Netflix, because Netflix you usually have to wait for season to end, whereas Hulu generally gets it the day after.
They get it the day after, but it's all over-the-air TV stuff the day after, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, it's just like it was on the TV.
Right.
Now, speaking of death, with the death of DVD, I mean, I'm sad at one part, but at the same part that I'm sad for, it's also kind of indifferent at the same point, because, I mean, I used to be one of those people that collected all the DVDs, had thousands literally, just because I love the special features. It wasn't it's cool to have the movie, but some DVDs would have all of these amazing bonus features, and Rob Zombie's films have the 3-hour documentaries chronicling the making of the movie. But like you were saying last year, they don't really do that anymore, and I think that's what hurt it too. So now everybody's well, let's just go ahead and get digital, because in the end, it's there's really no reason to buy a physical copy anyway. Especially, like you said,
right.
most laptops don't have DVD players now. And it's just easier to pull it up on your phone, on your iPad, and, whatever, and stream it.
Well, I think that the thing that's going to be hard, and I don't know how they will do this, but you and I were talking to Adolfo the other day, and I just left. I jumped in the shower, and then I left the house, and my in-laws were watching another movie. And it actually stars a girl that killed the the other girl, cute as a button one, in Walking Dead, the two girls, the two young girls, the one that went kind of nuts and Carol had to kill her. Remember?
Oh, yeah. Is it Miracles from Heaven with Brighton Charbonneau?
I don't know.
She was the one that went crazy. She played Lizzie. And it had Jennifer Garner. The movie that she came out with, she just came out with a new movie that had, I believe it was Jennifer Garner in it as well.
I don't know if that was the movie I was watching. All I know is her name was Abby in it, and she was crying in her bedroom, and she had a dad. He's out by the door, and there was another girl that was her sister, and he sent her to bed or whatever. Because I only saw like one little scene. But it had that, I told you, remember that DVD players, like, they haven't been able to shut off the narrator part.
Yeah.
It's like, I just wanted to audio tape it, but I didn't know how to audio tape it and play it for you on the phone while we're on the phone,
Yeah.
But it's funny because the woman's voice, it's like Siri. It's like a Siri type of voice that narrates it so monotone and so bland and just like Abby sits on her bed and cries.
Yeah, that's the thing I don't get, because I know one of the first DVDs I ever saw with that on it was Daredevil, the Ben Affleck version, and that was like, they had an audio, like it was almost like commentary, but it was an audio one for if somebody was blind, since he was a blind superhero and all, I guess, and they wanted to actually watch the movie, they had the descriptions on
But
it.
the fact of the matter is, if you're just shifting to streaming, you're going to lose a lot of these tools.
Yeah,
I know. I think you're saying you're going to lose all the extras, the deleted scenes,
the commentaries. Yeah.
But you're also going to lose things that are for a certain type of person, whether it's the hearing impaired or the blind. Like, how will streaming, like, for instance, on Netflix, when I'm watching it on my iPad, I've never really looked at this. Maybe there is a button. Can I turn on closed captions on my Netflix? I don't know if I
Yes.
can. I've never really tried. I can?
Yes, they do have closed caption.
So they might have their narration on there. Maybe I'll play a prank on my wife and get on her iPad and put the narration on. She won't know how to shut it off.
Now we're going to continue on into a couple of other stories that I had picked out. This one I'd actually texted it to you when I first found out about it. As our listeners know, we did have Danny Trejo on the show, and he's actually got a new documentary that they're in the process of making right now. That's covering his rise to fame, really, after getting out of prison and overcoming addiction. And I've heard bits and pieces of the story. I can't remember if he talked about it a little bit on the podcast, but I know I had spoken to Lou Temple before, and Lou had brought up some of the stories that Danny had told him about his prison time, and I personally am super stoked to see this documentary. I think anything I've heard about his story deserves to be told, and that I'm hoping when around the time it comes out, we'll definitely be able to get him on the show to discuss some of his stories even more.
Yeah. We can have him back on to promote his documentary. Why not? That'd be great. When's it coming out?
They're working on it now. I believe they're aiming for the end of the year. I mean, I don't know how long it takes to make documentaries like this to cover long parts of his life, but I know he's involved. I don't know if they're going to do like the America's Most Wanted recreation, get some actors to recreate certain stuff, or if it'll be just, the ones with interviews and photos and everything. But I'm really pretty super stoked for it and looking forward to seeing what the end result is. I know one of the people that, the companies that usually send us interviews is, I guess, taking over the American side of promotion. So we definitely should be able to interview the people involved once it's near release as well.
Why? Who's that? What company? What is it?
Cliff's company.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, we can.
They're what? They're setting up the interviews for the actual like recording it kind of thing for the actual documentary part of the interview?
No, they're actually doing they're going to be doing the promotion. Once it's finished and everything, sending the
Yeah. Why is that how you know about it? Because they sent you like a little announcement or something, or what?
Yeah. Well, no, I'd originally read the article that I sent you, and then a couple of days later, I got the press release from an email from his company stating that his Danny Trejo's newest documentary was coming out, and they were handling the promotion over here.
Nice. Yeah, I might just reach out. I'm going to go. Send me that information. Forward me that press release. I want to look up who's involved in that and the production stuff. Because when you bring up the sort of like America's Most Wanted, like the reenactment stuff, I don't know. That would be kind of cool if Trejo was playing himself in prison for some reenactment, or they're getting a younger guy. But I would love to be like a warden or a white supremacist or somebody that's like, just like in his story somewhere and just like kind of like deep in character, like where people don't know that's me. I want to pitch him if he's doing, because if he's doing those like reenactments, I just want to go, dude, I'll act for free. As long as I can like, go deep in some sort of prosthetic where people don't know it's me, that'd be funny. I'm just like getting shanked or trying to shank Trejo in prison. I'm like,
right?
I don't know if it's too late now. I don't know if right now is going to be part of the documentary. Like if I try to get him addicted to drugs again, or I try to shank him, but for real, I'm just saying, like right now, like I'm going out there in 2 weeks, like.
You're like, I'm going to go pick up some Trejo's tacos and get my shank on.
Hey, come meet me at Trejo Tacos. I want to talk to you about a project. And then I just try to shank him, or I just throw back a Coke in his face. And I'm like, this better make the documentary. And then I leave. and then like, it's like, no, Dave, you don't understand, man. The documentary's about the past. All right, well, hopefully make a sequel then. And I just threw Coke in your face. He was responsible for getting me hooked again.
Right? Yeah. And then you could be like, well, technically it is in the past now.
As soon as I do it, it's in the past.
Right?
When I think about it, it's in the past. That's right.
But yeah, I talked to Lou, and he was telling me this story. I mean, I don't know how familiar you are with Rob Zombie's Halloween, but Lou's character gets killed by Michael Myers with his pants down. And
is he in the bathroom?
No, he's actually in the process of raping a girl. And then he's not
raping. Wait! He's not raping her in the bathroom.
No, he's actually raping her in Michael Myers' cell. Michael Myers is trying to make a mask.
That's why I didn't go see that movie. It's got to be in the bathroom. I'm not watching it. Doesn't Ken Foray get killed in the bathroom?
He does, yes. Yes, there is somebody that dies in the bathroom.
Well, I might watch that for sure.
Yes, he gets killed while taking a dump, and Michael Myers proceeds to take his clothes.
Yeah.
But yeah, in Lou's scene, the reason he got killed with his pants down, other than obviously with the whole rape thing, is because he got the idea from Danny. Because apparently when Danny was in prison, you would never, the whole saying that don't get caught with your pants down is because if you were trying to run away from somebody with a knife, you can't do that if your pants are down by your ankles. So whether they were using the bathroom or even I guess he would say sometimes they would take a shower with some of their clothes on just to, if it came to the point where somebody was trying to kill him, you always want to have your pants where you can at least run away and not trip up on your own pants and, die a horrible, shameful death.
So what happened? Like, was he raping a man or a woman?
He was raping a woman, apparently a new inmate, and he was a guard there, but, yeah, it was it was him and another guard, and then Michael Myers was trying to make a mask when they came in and started raping her, and then, Michael Myers obviously does what he does, kills the first one.
I'm sorry, wait. Did you say he was trying to make a mask or a mask? So you're saying he's trying to make a mask?
Yeah, basically, for 14 or 15 years, that's all Michael Myers does in Rob Zombie's version. He's like a kid, he commits the murders, and then he finds himself ugly and wants to hide behind masks. So he just makes a bunch of papier-mâché masks. So basically, by the time Lou Temple comes in there, the walls are covered in various masks. And he's trying to make his newest creation when Lou barges in there, and it doesn't end too well. Lou tries to get away after the first guard is killed, but can't because he's tripping up over his own underwear, and Michael Myers kills him.
Let me ask you a question. That's why I got to go watch this movie then. Why would they do anything like with Michael Myers, like sort of like free to? I don't know. It seems odd to me. Like they know he's a killer, so why would they like be like, oh, there's Michael Myers. We're just gonna rape this girl over here and got my pants down. And yeah, he's a killer. Like I don't know. Can we borrow your cell for a moment, Michael? You play with your mask. So, what did they think Michael Myers was like locked up somewhere else, or did they think he was like handcuffed? I mean, I don't understand what happened.
They I guess they just kind of thought that he had, I wouldn't say that he had changed, but he hadn't acted out in a long time, other than killing his sister and then a nurse when he was young. Then, it flashes forward 10, 15 years, and he hasn't killed anybody in that time. So I guess the guard thought he had control over him, but even actually, one of them even tries to hit Michael with like a nightstick when Michael gets up from making the mask, but it doesn't really, obviously it doesn't faze Michael at all. But yeah, it's a very, very bad decision after the next, obviously, as it tends to happen in any horror franchise, but especially the Halloween movies.
Yeah, that's my thing. I don't know. So I didn't watch that movie. And I like Rob, and I like his filmmaking, but, I don't know if you should change. Michael Myers is an iconic character of the original Halloween, but he's a sociopath. He's a psycho. He's a psycho killer, right?
Yeah.
He doesn't not kill for 15 years. That guy stabs people. He kills people. It's like, that's his thing. He's a killing machine. And that would, or at least to me, that is the id of Michael Myers, of what you like. You know what I mean? It's like, that's what it is, So to say that the guy didn't kill for 15 years and then all of a sudden these clowns, like what made him all of a sudden want to kill these guys? Was there because he ruined their mask?
Well, yeah, they did mess up some of his masks in there, and they were Lou Temple takes one off the wall, and while he's raping her, he wears it, and he's like taunting Michael as well, which could lead to his snap. But then from that point on, Michael once again just kills without regard, because even throughout the time when you see Michael first arrive there, Danny Trejo's in the movie as well, and he plays like a warden or another guard, and he's always nice to Michael. Rob Zombie makes it a point to show that he's really nice to him as a kid. So then when after Michael kills the first couple of guards, you see Danny Trejo, his character's getting ready to retire. He's all older now, which all they did was just add a little bit of gray in his hair. And, Michael kills him anyway. And so then everybody's like, oh, I wish he wouldn't have died. But, once again, Michael doesn't really care.
And did he kill the girl?
You know what? They didn't show that, which is very odd. I can't say either way if they did or didn't. It would make sense that he would, since he had no problem killing anybody else, but they didn't really show that in none of the versions.
Yeah, I don't think they would show something like that,
Yeah, I mean, with her getting raped, and yeah, probably wouldn't be the best thing. I mean, Rob Zombie pushes boundaries, but I don't know if he quite would push that one.
Right. Unless you just make a twist where you think that he's going to let her live, and he feels for her, she's similar to him, and she's a victim, he's a victim, etc., etc. But then he kills her anyway. You know what I mean? Like she thinks she kind of thinks he saved her. You know, and then he just like slices her open and cuts her head off or whatever.
Very true. Yeah. Yeah, I don't. I enjoyed it though. Overall, you know, the Halloween film, it's different. I didn't really like the remake portion, but the actual, I don't know. A lot of people hated that he tried to add some mythos and backstory to Michael Myers. I actually enjoyed that part. I didn't really. Once it hit the remake part, though, it was like a remake on fast forward, like maybe in the greatest hits of the original Halloween. They just remade. It seemed like. I mean, I enjoyed it. I didn't enjoy the second one. And I actually rewatched that one recently, and I still do not like it because he has Michael Myers talk in it, which is just very odd. And he doesn't have the mask on at all.
What?
Yeah, he loses the mask, I think, in like 10 minutes in the second one, and he just walks around with because Tyler Mane played Michael Myers in Rob's films, and he has no mask on. He just has long hair over his face the entire movie.
Oh, interesting. I might watch that one. I might not like it, I don't know, but at least that's something I didn't know, and I might watch that just to see how that plays. Obviously, I'm friends with Tyler, so I'd like to watch him perform. So that would be cool. I might check that out. Unless he has a voice like this. Hey, guys. Is that how he talks?
No.
Like, I'm Michael Myers.
No, but I wouldn't have. I would have actually probably enjoyed it a lot more if he did talk like that.
Somebody should go through and just like dub in when you see his mouth move. Just dub in like a Mickey Mouse kind of voice, you know what I mean? It's just like, and just put that on YouTube. That'd be funny.
Well, I mean, he only talks once in the movie, but. You know, he screams the word.
You don't even need to dub it in. You could just take it into a garage band if that's the software you have, or Pro Tools or whatever, and just pitch. You could just take the voice that's already there and just pitch it up really high.
Yeah. He screams the word "die," which could sound really funny. Obviously, you know, bringing the pitch up near the end of the movie.
Right.
But yeah, no, I like the way Rob started it, but he like the second one is probably the most psychological horror slasher film I've ever seen. Like you think it, you know, the Halloweens are straightforward, but this one, like, there's so much hidden stuff in it that it's really crazy. Like he actually uses the Knights in White Satin as like a motif of the movie. And it's like representing Michael Myers' whole family, and you know they're dead, and his mother walks in with a horse, you know, a white horse. It's the weirdest thing. I think it's way too psychological for a Halloween movie. So, you know, most people are just scratching their heads like, what the hell happened? What did I watch?
So how on that first movie, how much time do they spend from Michael getting arrested and killing his sister? To Michael breaking out of that insane asylum to then go back to the house and be the lunatic killer again. What's
I think it's roughly like a 2-hour-long movie, and probably a good hour and 10 minutes is all backstory, from, you know, pre-killing to doing the killing, to then, you know, some of they do montages to show him getting older in the penitentiary that he's in, and then, you know, it introduces some of the newer characters for maybe about 10 minutes, and then probably like the last 30 to 45 minutes is nothing but the remake, and they just like move from one scene that you've seen to the next, really, with a couple of different twists on it, like. I love Malcolm McDowell, but, you know, and I think he took it the same way that most people would as an actor. You know, he didn't watch Donald Pleasance because, I mean, you can't top Donald Pleasance. But, you know, he went a completely different way, and I think that was because of how Rob wrote it. But whereas the doctor, instead of just, wanting to try to find out what's wrong with Michael and help fix it, and then just trying to stop him from getting out, as in the originals, this one's like, he realizes that Michael is his bread and butter, so he keeps, he's writing books about it. He's going on publicity tours. He's, becoming a celebrity doctor, kind of like a Dr. Drew. Of it, but it kind of completely changes the character from what you're used to in the original. So then when the original scenes, the ending plays out, you're like, why is he all of a sudden caring for somebody now? It's a little different, and I think that's where it faltered, was truly when it started actually doing the remake part.
That's a good point. I like that. I do think that I would have been fine with the movie just starting with him killing his sister, literally opening scene, similar to like the first Halloween or whatever, and then basically the entire thing is him as a child up to breaking out of the insane asylum. You know what I mean? And all the torture that he went through, and the mental anguish, and this doctor and people telling him he's mad and that he's a psychopath, and the shock treatment and drugs and therapy that's just wrong, you know what I mean, and just backwards. And that would have been kind of cool to see that all that treatment is really what turned him into Michael Myers, more than just a blip of the kid went crazy. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Rob kind of played it in this one as really, you look at it and you're like, it's obvious why he would become a killer, because it was just like, William Forsythe was his dad, but it was like some kind of, hatred between him and his father. His character is just constantly making fun of Michael Myers, saying that he thinks Michael Myers is going to be gay, change his name from Michael to as he says, Michelle. And Michael Myers goes to school and gets bullied. His mom's a stripper. And he's just like, this whole treasure trove of problems, And then they're like, the principal brings his mom in. It's like, well, we found these photos Michael has taken of dead animals, and like, it's pictures of dead cats and everything. And they're just like, oh, that's kind of weird, but let's not do too much about it. And then of course his first kill, in the original series was his sister, but he actually kills somebody before that in the remake, because he kills the bully who bullies him. So at that point you're like, I don't know whether to cheer for Michael or not, because that dude was a douchebag who was bullying him, but, Michael lures him into the forest and beats him with his giant stick, just bashes his brains in. Or out, I guess, technically.
Yeah. I don't even know how we got on this conversation.
Danny Trejo.
What we're doing? Danny Trejo. Somehow it impacts Danny Trejo.
It fits, though, because out of all the podcasts, that we've had, we've got Adolfo Dorta of Days of the Dead coming on, so it makes sense that somehow we would get to talking about horror. So we're excited for Danny, obviously.
I think they ever made, I didn't talk to Craig. Remember we had Craig on, and he was trying to do a crowdfund thing for the senior citizens or Social Security or whatever. They never made that film, right?
I don't think they've made it yet. I'm not 100% sure. I know it got funded. Every movie that we've brought on that was doing a Kickstarter has been funded, and I use that when we bring in other people. We've successfully helped fund every single project that we've had. They've all wound up meeting their goal.
There you go.
So Dave and Creech is doing it big.
I got to do a Kickstarter. I got to do one for one of my projects.
Exactly, and the last thing that we'll talk about before we get into our interview today is something that was, to a lot of people, long overdue, but unless you've been living under a rock, which I know you still get the news, so you should know about this too by now. Ringling Brothers has announced that they are ceasing all operations this May after a 146-year run.
Yes, I knew about that.
What are your thoughts? Are you happy about it, or?
I'm gonna look at the tour dates, because I think I'll go to one of the shows. I mean, only because I've gone probably, maybe 4 times, 5 times my entire life to a circus at all. I don't know how many of those was Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus. Probably 3 of them was. I think I went to some other. They're not. Hey, here's the thing. Here's the deal. They're not the only circus, but they obviously are a big circus. But it's been years since they toured in an actual big top tent. They're always at like Staples Center. You know, I think the last time I saw them was at Staples Center. So you already have, like, in my opinion, the circus was already dead when I'm going to the place where the Lakers play to go watch a clown go behind elephants and pick up their poop. You know what I mean? It's like not the. You got to have the tent. It's got to be in a parking lot or a field. You got to have the tent, and you got to have the sideshow tent, and you got to have like the cages that you can go tour and see the animals in the cages up a little bit up close. You know. And the idea of seeing the tent with, like, the strings and watching them pull the tent down, if you're interested, that's the circus, you know. But they still had a lot of elements going for it, even up to this day, which is why it was closing. It wasn't so much that the show itself wasn't entertaining or the show itself was completely outdated. The show was not outdated. They added motorcycles and stuntmen, and it was a very... You know, a third of it was Circus Delay, or whatever, Cirque du Soleil. They had a lot of those performers in there, and a lot of lazy. Like, I saw it at the Staples Center, and it was, you know, laser light shows, smoke machines, pyrotechnics. It was definitely a very entertaining show. For instance, the Ringmaster. When was the last time you saw it? Before I talk about the circus.
I haven't seen it, probably in, like, decades. Well,
Okay.
Probably not decades, but like maybe like 15 years.
Yeah, I think I saw it in 2010, maybe 2011, and maybe even 2012. Let's just say 2012. So it was like 4 years ago. The Ringmaster floated around on this kind of like... gyro hover thing. What are those things? Those drones, you know? Imagine like a big drone, and it's lit up, and it has a lot of smoke to cover like the crane portion of it, or the wheels, or whatever. You know, it was like a hovercraft, but with like dry ice to make it look like he floated around. But he was in the air, and he would float from ring to ring. You know what I'm saying? So it was very modern. You know what I mean? He was kind of like, he was more of a, he wasn't just a guy in the hat. He was a character, and it was more of a cool performance thing. But the reason, though, that from my knowledge of it closing is because of the transportation part of it was archaic, and the amount of employees was archaic. So it wasn't the actual show. In fact, they'd be better off. It's the touring part that was costing a lot of money. They still had to travel by train. They had all those animals, even though the elephants have been retired for a couple of years now. I don't know, maybe 2 years or so. They lost the elephants, and they said once they lost the elephants, they stopped using elephants in the show. Their attendance went down like 50%. So the elephants were a big draw, but they were ruled inhumane treatment of animals to use the elephants like that. So they stopped using elephants in the show. But also they were still traveling by train with all the other animals and all the families and the clowns and the performers and their families. And so they had like a traveling school. And this is stuff from like the 1900s, like they still kept a lot of the perks of how they travel. That's the part that became archaic in terms of the cost, in terms of shows. So if Ringling, I think their headquarters in Florida, if they just bought a piece of land, and they should have did this 40 years ago, maybe 30 years ago, when real estate was fucking dirt cheap in Florida, like Walt Disney did, and they should have just bought land and made it more of a tourist attraction of here's the animals and here's more of like natural habitat, the safari, but they also have the trained, shows. Because when you go to like Universal Studios and you go to Disney, Disney Studios, they all have like the animals on film shows. You know what I mean? Like they're live, and it's like here comes the monkey, and he comes out and does the thing. Here comes the dog, and here comes a bunch of little dogs, and here's the owl that's trained. You know what I'm talking about? You've seen that, right?
Yeah.
So there's no reason why that Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus had to be touring at all. Like it was bad business from the top, not bad business from the show. The show was very good. The performers were top-notch. It's an entertaining show, but it was the business of getting the show and bringing it to Oklahoma and bringing it to Chicago and bringing it to Philadelphia and then bringing it to Pittsburgh and Albuquerque, wherever it was. There's no reason to do that. They should have thought about the bottom line 40 years ago and said, let's buy land in Florida. Let's set up a permanent big top. Let's have these animals. They should have saw the writing on the wall with the animals and the Humane Society and the treatment of the animals. If those animals could still be highly trained performing, but if they were set up in a safari and you saw that they weren't put in cages and put on trains and moved around and that's unhealthy, if they lived a little bit more like in a secure place, a conservation type place. So basically, I guess what I'm saying is that they turned it more into a SeaWorld, and SeaWorld's not working out that well for SeaWorld either. So I'm kind of talking out my ass, but I think the circus has a lot more to offer than SeaWorld. I've gone to SeaWorld twice, and quite frankly, the problem with SeaWorld is you're really limited to just you've got your seals, you've got your dolphins, you've got your killer whales, you've got your manta rays you can pet. Like, it's just you're limited to that kind of aquatic thing. But with the circus, you could have had Clown Town. Like I'm saying, if they made a Disney World out of Ringling Brothers and Barnum and Bailey Circus, they still have the main performance thing that everyone can go to. There's a show every hour, and it's different, and there's another ring. But they could have broadened out that whole world of the circus into a Disney World thing and had all those, animals on a safari thing. They could have had Clown Town where there was rides and there was, creating characters of these clowns. And actually, because name one famous clown from the Ringling Brothers Barnum and Bailey Circus. Can you name one famous clown?
Nope. I think all the famous clowns I can think of are Bozo, John Wayne Gacy, and Pennywise the Clown. It's a pretty eclectic mix.
Krusty. Come on, Krusty's got to be up
Krusty the
there.
Clown from The Simpsons. I forgot about that one.
Right.
There was one clown, or really a person that was a Ringling Brothers clown, that did become really famous. However, as soon as they became famous, they got kicked out of the Ringling family. Steve-O from Jackass was a Ringling Brothers clown before he did Jackass.
There you go.
Yeah, he was.
That's pretty cool. That
Yeah,
might be the coolest thing that Steve-O has going for him.
He was actually taking one of his first stunts on Jackass. He actually took like a bunch of elephant shit from Ringling, and he got on a ladder and jumped off right into it. And when they saw that footage, they got rid of him from Ringling.
Yeah, I could see how that was a sort of like a fireable offense. I don't know what that is,
Yeah, in the end, it definitely worked out better for Steve-O than it did for Ringling, though.
Yeah. If you really think of it, if you think that Steve-O lasted longer than Ringling Brothers, the greatest show on earth, even though they really lasted 145 years. But I'm just saying, like, this whole thing of P.T. Barnum being the greatest showman, for him, and he was long gone by the time they needed to really, evolve. I think, and it's easy to say in hindsight, they should have zigged left when they zigged right. But either way, so Ringling Brothers, Barnum and Bailey Circus, asked me how I feel about that. I'm going to go and try to catch one of the last shows, just to say I did it.
Up next, we have an interview that we conducted a couple of days ago with Adolfo Dorta from Days of the Dead. And we are going to be chatting Days of the Dead, horror, and everything in between, really. Adolfo's a great interview. He had a lot of very good points. So without any further ado, let's get to that interview.
Well, thank you, Adolfo, for coming on the show. For those who don't know, Adolfo is a part of Days of the Dead. It is one of the premier horror fan conventions across the United States. How are you doing today?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. We're glad to have you on. We love your convention. And if I remember correctly, we're about 3 weeks away from the first event of 2017 for Days of the Dead. Can you give us a little bit more information about that?
Yeah, we're going to be starting the year off in Atlanta at the Sheridan Atlanta downtown, February 3rd through the 5th. And Atlanta's always our first show of the year. It kind of sets us up for our future shows in the Midwest. We've got Indianapolis at the end of June. We've got Louisville first weekend of September. And then we end things off in Chicago at the end of November. And, Atlanta's really, it's a real fun way to start off the year because Atlanta's very unique. It's a very different crowd from the Midwest crowd. It's kind of, I don't know how to, it's just, they've got like this sort of like, I don't know how to say without sounding like I'm downing Atlanta, but it's a little more freakish than the Midwest. It's a different breed. I mean, I'm originally from the South too, so I guess it's, I mean, are you from the Atlanta area or where are you from?
I'm based in Charleston, South Carolina, so I'm about 4 to 6 hours away from Atlanta.
So maybe you know a little bit of what I'm talking about. Like I'm originally from Florida, which I know doesn't count as the South for some people. But Georgia, the Carolinas, Alabama, Tennessee, Kentucky, even. I mean, like that whole area. There's a certain charm about it, and there's a certain I don't know. There's like a certain something about the people that come out to those our Atlanta shows from that area. They party hard. They're not shy about it, and they're real warm and inviting. And it's just it just feels like a real crazy family reunion, and not just an autograph show, which sometimes the Midwest can be a little bit guilty of. So Atlanta's always a fun way to start it out. Just go and just have a good time.
I definitely agree with that. I know with Atlanta, especially this year, one of the things I feel that sets this convention from other horror-themed conventions is that you get the actors not only to come and sign autographs, take photos, but some even do the photo ops in costume. And I think that definitely helps set you guys apart, and it's something really cool that makes the experience even more unique for fans.
Yeah, those are really cool actually, and I was doing an interview the other day, and somebody else asked me about that, and to me, I went into that with a little bit of apprehension. It's kind of becoming a more common thing now in the convention scene. We did one with Sid Haig in Indianapolis a couple of years ago, and then did the Bill Moseley Otis photo op in Indianapolis last year as well. And so it's kind of something that other shows are starting to look at and try to do as well. But, for us, when we got approached for those photo ops, CJ Graham in the Friday the 13th Part 6 costume, and then even just doing Moseley originally in Indianapolis, which we're going to be doing again in Atlanta, you want it to look good, though. You want it to really do justice to the character and not kind of come off like a cheap Party City type knockoff, because not only do fans pay a lot of money for those photo ops, but you're also you kind of got like their memory of one of their favorite characters on the line here with this. Like if CJ Graham looks crappy, like you're gonna ruin it for somebody. Like nobody wants to take a picture with a crappy Jason. And if you don't have the lighting right, if you don't have the makeup right, if the costume doesn't look right, then it like all that just like absolutely destroys their image of that character. So we're real careful with those. I mean, like we hold those in really high regard, and just having the opportunity to do that and bring that to the fans is cool. But it's always something that when it gets proposed to us, like CJ, I was the one that he had commissioned somebody to remake that costume for him. He actually owns a lot of the original that was used in the film, and he had commissioned an artist to go ahead and complete it. And when it was done, it looked so good that, he came to us and was like, hey, what do you think about doing like a costume photo op? It's something that like you really jump on because it's awesome, but at the same time, like if it's not going to look good, then you don't do it. But this one, from what I've seen of the costume, I've seen like dozens and dozens of photos of like every piece of it before we made that call, and it looks absolutely awesome. And I think fans are going to be, they're going to be taken aback when they walk into the room and it's friggin' Jason, like standing there, under lights to take a photo, and like they're not going to be able to tell the difference. It's badass.
The other one is in Chicago, Days of the Dead?
Oh, we got one in Indianapolis at the end of June, one in Louisville in September, and then we end the year off in Chicago in November, weekend before Thanksgiving, actually.
So there's really 4 of them then. Okay. And the original was in Indiana. Was the first one?
That was our first one. Oh, really? No shit.
And that one has more. There is a little bit more of a music element to that one, I think, or not? Am I wrong about that? That there's.
We've kind of started like mixing that into all the shows. We'll try different things out in certain cities that we think it'll work out best. And then if it goes well enough, we'll kind of carry it over to different shows. Like, we tried out having like various wrestlers in, Indianapolis. We'll throw in a wrestling guest or two, and, they were extremely well received. And so, we tried it in Atlanta, which is kind of also a big town for that. And, when it works, we just sort of bring it to the rest. But, in Chicago, this past show, we had Alice Cooper as a guest. We're talking to another pretty big musical guest for the Indianapolis show. And Atlanta has Dave Ellison from Megadeth and Twee Ramirez from Marilyn Manson. So, it's something that we've kind of just branched out to the others. And, it adds a different kind of vibe than just strictly horror,
Now, was Alice Cooper, Vincent, as I like to call him, was he a nice guy?
Oh man, he was one of the best guests we've ever had, easily. Super nice.
That totally shocks me. Yeah, because I heard that he's not nice anymore.
Oh no, he couldn't have been nicer. I was really surprised. I mean, he was super like low maintenance. Yeah. What's that?
He said no more Mr. Nice Guy to me, so I don't know what that meant.
He broke it that weekend.
That's a long lead-in for a bad joke. No, obviously, I've seen him in interviews. I've never met the guy, but he obviously is a very nice guy. He's not 18 anymore either. That's what I heard.
Oh, that much is true.
Yeah, parts of him are. So when is Days of the Dead Atlanta? I think, Creech, you were telling me it's the 2nd, 3rd, or something like that?
February 5th.
Yeah, 3rd through the 5th.
3rd through the 5th. So the 3rd is a Friday. Okay, I thought the 2nd was a Friday. It's coming up quick, though. That's like in 2 weeks, really.
Of course, of anything that's been announced so far, what do you think sets this year apart from the others, and what part of it are you looking forward to the most?
As far as the show goes, we recently announced that we were going to be doing a whole second track of panels, aside from our, like we've always done like the celebrity panels and, different things geared around the guests that are going to be at the show. But this year, starting in Atlanta, we're adding a whole second track, which we're calling our Blue Track, and it's essentially kind of like a more interactive set of panels for fans to go ahead and sit in on and participate. Like there's going to be one where you can learn how to do, gore effects on a budget, and we're going to have some filmmakers and effects artists that work on independent films come in and show you how you can like make a head explode on the cheap. There's going to be another one that has to do with like haunted house actors and how they do their thing, and just for people that might be interested in that industry or just are curious to find out like different ways that people who do that for a living scare people. There's going to be another one that deals with like the connection between heavy metal and horror, and there's going to be different musicians and different people in the heavy metal scene coming in to talk about that. So it's a little different than your typical Q&A where a fan might ask Sid Haig something about one of his roles in a movie, and it just it's more inviting to the audience to come in and participate and learn things that they may be interested in that they may not know a lot about. So I'm curious to see how that goes over. We really like to do things that aren't so autograph-centric. I sometimes feel like the horror convention scene in general, and this isn't a knock on anybody, but it's just, I guess, kind of the way things are. Like, they're very geared towards, like, come in, buy autographs, buy photo ops, and go home. And, we kind of feel like we like to see a little bit more than that. I mean, I know, like, the shows that I like to go to have more of a social scene. They have more panels. They have more things to do and keep you busy throughout the weekend because, for the admission price, we think you should get more than just coming in and buying stuff.
I definitely agree with that. I was lucky enough to go last year, and I definitely agree. It has a different – it actually kind of like what you were mentioning with how, Atlanta together as a family, it seems like. It does have a – it seems to be like a family, atmosphere, I guess would be the best word to describe it, where it's just everybody together. Yeah, everybody's – it's like you said, some kind of big, odd, weird family that comes together, but there's no sort of stress, and everybody's happy. You can go to conventions, and it seems like even the actors aren't really enjoying themselves. But at this one, they always have a smile on their face, and they look like they have a great time.
Yeah, I think it's just we don't monetize everything. We don't make everything about like. I mean, and like. I don't know. I'm not trying to like take shots at how anybody else does something, but I think that when you make it too much about business and too much about money and too much about like telling celebrities to be at their table and just signing and like when you make it so much and so focused on like the exchange of money between your audience and the show, like it kind of feels like you're walking into a McDonald's, and there's like no personability to it. At the end of the day, yeah, like it's a business and we sell tickets and you kind of need that in order to do another one and to grow and get bigger. But at the same time, like we're fans too. We're first and foremost like we go to other horror conventions, we go to other pop culture shows. We're like really big horror nerds and we collect comic books and toys, and I mean we're into this stuff. So, to turn it into like a job, kind of just sucks the magic out of it. And we make it about the business aspect as much as it has to, but aside from that, I mean we're at the show blowing off steam and hanging out after hours and having drinks with Kane Hodder and Bill Moseley just like everybody else, and we love what we do, and we have a blast doing it. And, to turn it any more into, like, work or, just about, money changing hands, I think it would make it suck. It would take all the fun out of it.
I think one of the things that's really cool that the Days of the Dead does that at least some of the other conventions we've gone to have or don't usually do is the whole film festival aspect, whereas you've got, you have your horror legends and the big names, but you also have an outlet for upcoming filmmakers and everything to show their craft and everything, which, helps get the word out on their films. When did Days of the Dead start doing that process and, helping out the future?
Yeah, no, we started doing that the first show, actually. I was the one putting that together for the first, show or two. And, I thought it would always be kind of important to showcase, the up-and-comers in horror. What do we have to look forward to over the next couple of years? Who's going to be the hot filmmakers? What are the movies that we're going to be talking about and sharing with friends? And I kind of made myself responsible for that. And then around our third show, Jason Hoover, who's a filmmaker himself, he's done I Am No One, Run, and he was the force behind the collective short film compilations, and he runs Jab Pictures. He kind of came up to me after a show and said, hey, so about your film festival, it's awful. I mean, it's absolutely you don't know what you're doing. He was right, because I'm not a filmmaker. I'm not I was choosing what I thought kind of worked, but, I wasn't getting it right in terms of the equipment that was being used to project the film, the sound system that was being used. So he, as a filmmaker, had more of an idea for the little nuances that would make it right. So, I told him, I was like, well, if you think you can do better, I mean, you're free to take it over, and I'll stand out of your way, and you do what you think needs to be done. And ever since then, it's become a force to be reckoned with. And, for Atlanta this year, we have, 48 hours of straight program as he always does. I think it's something like over 60 movies that are being shown from the time the doors open to the doors closed. And he's really gone into the international scene with films showing from 20 different countries. So, I mean, not only are you getting some local flavor like Frankenstein Created Bikers or, She Was So Pretty from Brooklyn Ewing out of North Carolina, but you're also getting films from Korea, you're getting films from Japan, films from Ireland, and it's really doing a lot to showcase horror, not just in the United States independent scene, but in the underground worldwide. So we're really excited about that. And, it's been one of our more popular selling points to the show. When we started out, when I was kind of blindly trying to put it together, we could barely, find 4 or 5 people to fill a screening. But, now, I mean, Hoover, fills 200, 250 seats and people standing in the back. And it's absolutely awesome to see a lot of the films that get screened at Days of the Dead end up on a lot of people's best of the year lists, when November and December roll around.
It helps promote the brand, too, and they're like, well, that we premiered it, here at Days of the Dead.
Yeah, and he's gone. The films that he's shown, I mean, in the last couple of years, the 2 American Guinea Pig films from Unearthed Films got premiered at Days of the Dead. She Was So Pretty was shown at Days of the Dead for the first time. Piece of the Talent, Run, Circus of the Dead. All these movies that have gone on to, some of them have gone on to get mainstream distribution. Some of them Found and Headless have gotten picked up, and you're seeing them in video stores. You're seeing them on Amazon. You're seeing them on Netflix and Hulu, and it's cool to see that these movies got their start at Days of the Dead, that Hoover has that eye for, picking what is the real good stuff in the horror scene that people are going to be talking about for years to come.
Now, Bill, I've met Bill before. He's a part of the whole Days of the Dead thing, right?
Yeah, it's myself, Bill, and Rick. And Rick handles a lot of the the online stuff, the kind of the web work, the visual aspect of the marketing, and Bill does all the celebrity-related stuff and the booking, and I'm just kind of the flavor of the group who does the interviews and hypes stuff up on Facebook.
Got it. That's probably why I met Bill, because I'm a bit of a celebrity, so that must have been it. No.
There you go.
And then what's some people that you're excited about for this particular Days of the Dead in Atlanta coming up?
Oh, I'm personally stoked for the Stranger Things kids. When they approached us about doing the show, I had actually just finished watching the series on Netflix over a weekend, and
Right.
you know, kind of trying to go to everybody I know, like, you really got to watch this show. It's phenomenal. And shortly thereafter, we got the call saying, hey, you know, they're going to be in Atlanta filming the next season, and they're really interested in showing up. What do you think about having them on? And, you know, I mean, I was kind of beside myself. I was like, yeah, definitely. Let's go ahead and have them on. And, you know, aside from them,
great.
you know, Linda Blair is another one that's always fun to have. And, you know, just having the four Jason actors we have on the show from the various movies, having all four of those guys on a panel together, that's probably going to be a real treat.
Yeah, that's cool because I mean, obviously Kane and Derek and, you know, they're usual suspects at so many cons, but I don't think I've been to one where all four are there. So that's pretty cool.
Yeah. TJ actually stopped doing them for a long time. He does a lot of I think he owns a casino out in Las Vegas, and just recently got back into them at our Chicago show. He'd been out of the game for quite a few years, and Steve Dash had taken a break as well. So having them both back after a little bit of a hiatus is pretty cool.
I'm glad he stopped that casino thing. That's a fad. Casinos are a fad. It's the biggest money losers in the world. You know, I've never seen a casino make money. Wait a second, how do you get into being a part of a casino? That's like only thing better than that is winning a lottery ticket. I mean, that's like printing money. Hey, come and lose your money. Come to my place and let me take your money.
I'll have to ask him.
It's a good business plan. So, yeah. I did Days of the Dead a couple of years ago. Did you know that?
Yeah, I believe it was the Atlanta show, if memory serves. That was a good time. It was I think it was like 2 years ago when we did the Devil's Rejects reunion.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's what it was. Oh, yeah, we had a great panel. That was a great panel, actually.
It was I think it was like 8 people on the stage. I mean, it was anytime you do anything with that Rob Zombie group. I mean, they're such a like funny group of actors, and they've got such a camaraderie that it's fun every time. Like, you could see that panel 17 different times, and it'll be a blast each one.
Yeah, we have a little texting chain, you know, like a group text thing. So that's always fun to be on because it's sort of like, I miss you guys. Yeah, I'll see you at the next one. You know, like sometimes they'll say, I'll be at this one, and this one. Hey, I'm going to go to this con and this con. Hey, I'll be at that one. See you there, you know. So it's you don't really always touch, you know. So Leslie is really big on the texting. But she likes to send, like, glitter pictures and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, Minnie Mouse glitter things. And Happy New Year.
With the Snapchat.
Really? Yeah, you're on a Devil's Rejects, you know, texting group here of all the actors, and you're sending Minnie Mouse glitter hands and stuff like that, saying Happy New Year. It's like, no, doesn't fit.
I'm going to kind of flip the track now. One of the comments I see mostly on Facebook is everybody always wanting to know what guests are coming. How do you, as a promoter, keep everything fresh?
You know, it's gotten a lot easier over the last year or so because the shows started to really grow a lot and kind of, you know, attract other celebrities that don't typically do shows, or, you know, managers that don't typically, you know, work with just anybody. So we've gotten offers from people that, you know, sometimes they just come to you, like the Stranger Things kids. That's kind of how it worked out. And, you know, their manager who had worked with us before with other celebrities came to us and said, hey, you know, they're in the process of filming season 2 in Atlanta, and a couple of people behind the show are familiar with your convention. Some of them went last year. And, you know, what about getting the kids out to the show? They'd love to do it. So, you know, things like that, when they pop up, that's like the easy part. You're like, hell yeah, you know. I mean, that's I had just finished watching the season on Netflix when the opportunity came to us, so that was kind of a no-brainer. But, when aside from that, sometimes you just, you think about what you would like to see. There's some guests that we kind of have become Days of the Dead staples, like, your Sid Haigs and your Kane Hodder's and your Bill Mosleys, and, people never get tired of seeing them. But, other times you think like, well, what would be cool? And, for Atlanta, part of that conversation was, well, let's get a bunch of people that play Jason and put them together in one room, and, that would make a cool panel because, we'd love to go ahead and hear what they all have to say about playing the same character through different eras of the character's life. And so that's how, Steve Dash and Derek Mears and C.J. Graham got invited to the show. And then, somebody like a Linda Blair where, you think, man, that's somebody that we haven't had in a long time and we really enjoyed having, and let's go ahead and bring them out. And it's a lot of, like, being a fan. It's a lot of, we sit down, like myself, Bill, and Rick, who, are the other two guys behind Days of the Dead. We sit down and we tell each other, like, man, what would be cool? Like, what would we like to see? And then you kind of listen to a little bit of what the fans would want to see and say, well, who are the guests that everybody's always asking for? And then, there's a little bit of, there's every now and then you book a guest or two where it's like, well, I don't know if anybody will want to see them, but I think it'll be cool. And you just throw them out there and just see how it goes. So it's kind of a little bit of everything, but, much like with the way we set our convention up, it comes down to the golden rule of, like, if I was a fan and I was paying, my money to get into this show, what would make me come away feeling like I got my money's worth, and what would make me have a good time? And we just take it from there.
I know you touched on it just a couple of seconds ago about seeing stuff that you want, and hoping that some of this stuff that maybe the other fans may have not seen may enjoy it. Now, as we all know, horror is experiencing some sort of resurgence. There's going to be a lot of new films coming out, a lot of new horror remakes, everything. Is there anything out there that you're excited to that you can look forward to maybe seeing at a future Days of the Dead?
As far as things that I'm looking forward to next year, I'm actually more like excited to catch up on all the things I missed this year, because like my to watch list is literally like 100 movies long, because sometimes you get really busy during the year and you miss out on a lot of the cool stuff that comes out. But some of the ones that I kind of got in my queue to watch on some spare time is Train to Busan, which I've heard like a lot of phenomenal things about. The Wailing, which is another, I believe, Korean film that a lot of friends of mine have been very excited for and kind of telling me I should check out. And, as far as, things that aren't out, the new Blade Runner and the new Aliens film, because, I mean, how could you not be excited about that?
How's he doing both?
What's that?
How's he doing both?
How's he doing?
Both? I don't know. Ridley Scott, didn't he do those?
Yeah. I think he's just producing on the Blade Runner, and with the Alien one, I don't think he's directing. I think he's also just producing. I could be wrong, but I'm a fan of both those franchises, or rather the Blade Runner film and the Alien franchise. So I mean, I'm always down for a new one.
That must be. I would love to interview him on that, because it must be difficult. Those are both quintessential Ridley Scott, franchises, even though Blade Runner is not really a franchise as of yet. Now it will be, but and they're both films, right? One's not a TV show, right?
No, yeah, they're both films. Yeah, I mean, I can imagine I can't imagine the pressure going into something like that. Especially Blade Runner, because Alien's kind of taken off without him and set up its own mythology, and
Yep.
People have sort of explored it in video games and comic books,
Yep.
and it might have gotten a little bit away from him, but coming back to Blade Runner after however many decades is pretty. I mean, it's kind of tall order.
Yeah, and I would think the thing to me is like tonally, they're both so different, but yet those worlds are so intricate. And I'm just saying, as a filmmaker, and he's a filmmaker regardless whether he's producing. He's a filmmaker, but now he's also when you're a producer at that level. These are these are, blockbuster movies, so that you're really a CEO. You know, you look at those movies like any of the Marvel comic movies. To get those things made, you're really a CEO of so many workers. You know what I mean? There's so much CG work that goes into them and pre-thought and stuff. But to bounce back and forth, that's the part that me being creative, I would have a hard time spinning both plates. Like that's, the tones are just kind of like, I'm wondering if he's, he might be more hands off on one than the other, just because it might be hard to go back and forth to people coming at you with what do you think of this? How about we do this? This is what this model looks like right here. This is what we're thinking for even the color schemes on things. It just must be
We're drawing from two totally different wells, like you said, tonally and just the mood of both are very, very distinctive. So to go ahead and just jump back and forth, it's kind of like, you're cooking two completely different kinds of cuisine at the same time, and just
exactly,
you know what I'm saying? You've got sous chefs yelling in each ear, and you're trying to. But I don't know. I mean, maybe that's why he's an all-time great, and I'm just a fan. Looking forward to what he's got next. I mean, if he's behind it, I'm going to watch it for better or worse.
I always thought Blade Runner would be a great TV series because that world just could keep going, obviously both worlds can, but that one is sort of like our world. It's on Earth, it's
especially a lot of no, I agree, and especially a lot of the stuff that you see now where a lot of the advancements where you see in Japan they're starting to do a lot of work with artificial intelligence and robots, and some are very human-like, and I could see them doing a prolonged story of that would almost kind of mirror some of the stuff going on in our world simultaneously. So yeah, that'd definitely be really cool.
What's the music side of things? You said you had to catch up on music.
Oh yeah, just different things that have come out over the last year. I mean, usually I can keep up with that a little bit more, but I'm always having friends of mine just recommend various albums to me, and getting a chance to check some of those out. One band that, I mean, if anybody wants to check out, they're actually from Atlanta, and I've been taking every opportunity I can to go ahead and put them out there to people. The band's name is Whores, and they recently just released an album called Gold, which has been on constant rotation for me. So anybody who's interested in checking out some new music, they got kind of like a 90s noise rock kind of vibe, a Helmet and Unsane and the Melvins and stuff like that. So if you're into that kind of stuff, Jesus Lizard, definitely check them out. Other than that, there's been a lot of stuff that's come out, particularly in the noise rock and metal scene, which is sort of what I lean towards. That I've been
in Whores. That is anybody in Whores has other footprints in other bands then, or something like that?
You mean who are the band members?
Yeah, because you mentioned all those other bands. It's it's these two guys from this other band, et cetera, et cetera. You know what I'm saying?
Oh no, they're not in any other sort of known bands. I'm just saying they kind of sound like that. If you were to get all those other bands and kind of stick them in a blender and that was sort of your flavor that you were into, you would probably be into them as well.
I would check them out because I knew that Man or Astra Man, those guys live down there and they got a recording studio, so I just didn't know.
That's another great band. I actually, are they still doing stuff?
I don't think Man or Astra Man is, but I think people involved have other projects, and I know they have a studio, so they probably record quite a bit of. They might, if Horns is from down there, maybe they are in that scene in the sense of, they recorded there. That guy's, I don't remember the guy's name. I don't think the whole band has the studio. One guy has it.
Yeah, that Atlanta scene though. I mean, the Atlanta music scene's really underrated. I think. I mean, there's been so many great bands that have come out of there over the years, from like Kylesa and Mastodon, and one out of I don't know if you would consider them Atlanta or like northern Florida, but Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. I mean, so many great bands to come out of that city. But I think Atlanta, being a smaller town, sometimes gets a little bit pushed under the radar in favor of like the New Yorks and the Chicagos and the Los Angeleses. But I've always dug the city.
What are the other dates for all those other ones coming up?
Glad you asked. Starting, I'll go ahead and just drop Atlanta one more time. It's coming up at the Sheridan Atlanta, February 3rd through the 5th. After that, we're going to be going to Indianapolis at the Wyndham Indianapolis West, and that one's June 30th to July 2nd. Following that is Louisville, which is happening September 1st through the 3rd, and then we end the year in Chicago, and it's the weekend before Thanksgiving, 17th through the 19th. So if you're within a short drive of any of those towns, you're definitely not going to want to miss the show. Come out, party with us, have a good time, meet some celebrities, watch some flicks, and engage in all sorts of nonsense.
Well, Adolfo, I'll be sure to meet you at whatever one I'm at, man. And if I don't say hi to you first, please come up and introduce yourself, because I don't think we met.
Absolutely, man. Will do. We definitely will meet at the next one.
All right, cool. Thanks.
Awesome, man. Thanks guys for having me.
Well, Creech, another episode in the can. It was a fun one, and hopefully, if you've never seen the circus, you've got a little bit of time. I think May is the last show, so log on to ringlings.com or whatever. I'm sure it's not that hard to find their website. You can see if they're coming to a town near you. Catch the last circus.
Exactly, and obviously we've talked about it a couple of times in this podcast, but hey, if you are in Atlanta February 3rd through the 5th, make sure you check out Days of the Dead. I'll be there. Lexi will be there doing interviews too, our newest little interviewer, and it's just going to be fun for all, so I highly suggest if you're out in Atlanta, you should definitely stop by.
Okay, everyone, listen, the podcast is over. Thank you for listening. Goodbye.
Shut up and sit down.
Thank you for listening to The Dave and Creech Show. The views and opinions expressed in this podcast are solely those of Dave and CJ. These views and opinions do not necessarily represent those of Creech Creative Productions or any of its affiliates.